se viene Diego Armando Maradona.
Foxy Cotton does what I think it can. We could soon become Purdue's first billion-dollar drug.
You will never, ever control me again.
From the rise and fall of a footballing legend to a damning drama about the cruelty of the American opioid epidemic, welcome to our show about all that's new and noteworthy on the small screen. Alison Sargent joins me to tell us about the latest series, and we're starting with a very timely show, Amazon's biographical series about the life and times of the late Argentinian footballer Diego Maradona.
Maradona actually approved of this series, Olivia, himself, although he didn't live to see it. It's been almost exactly a year since the football star died of cardiac arrest. Now, the show actually opens with Maradona not on a football field or clutching a trophy, but passing out on a beach from a drug overdose. And we hear a voice echoing in his head asking what happened to the Pelusa, his childhood nickname meaning the fluff or the fuzz. And that's really the question that this series sets out to answer, how Maradona went from being this child football prodigy in the slums of Argentina to a somewhat washed-up global superstar addicted to excess and drugs.
It was quite the journey indeed. Now, to show the various stages of his life, the football is played by 4 different actors. Let's take a look at the trailer for Maradona, The Blessed Dream.
Necesita distraerse. A vos te conviene más el Diego muerto que vivo, ¿no?
Ojalá algún día pueda ser un buen padre, como vos.
¿Cuántos hijos de Diego va a haber por el mundo?
¿En serio que estoy en bancarrota?
¿Qué le pasa conmigo, Tota? ¿De verdad piensa que yo no lo cuidé a su hijo?
Diego, ¿qué pasa? Diego, despertate.
Lo que hace Diego lo hace él, no lo hacen los demás, lo hace él.
Me acuerdo cuando usted era chiquito y era feliz, con la pelota en los pies y las patas en el barro.
Rego del gloria este suelo.
So the show's clearly an homage to Maradona, but given the complex sort of man he was, it's not entirely flattering.
Yeah, as I said, Olivia, right from the get-go, it does show his struggles with drug abuse and obesity. Later on, it also shows his constant cheating on his wife, Claudia, who was also his childhood sweetheart. Now, on the positive side, it does show how close Maradona was to his family, as well as his left-wing political engagements. And the show mixes in lots of little snippets of Argentina's history, like the death of Perón, and how soccer was used as a smokescreen to cover up the atrocities of Argentina's military dictatorship. You also get a lot of football history, of course. The show incorporates tons of newspaper clippings, archival footage of games, as well as interviews. And I found that the actors look so much like Maradona that I couldn't actually tell the difference sometimes.
Great casting there then. And as you mentioned, the timing of this release is really quite symbolic.
Well, the first episode debuted at the end of October, just days before what would have been Maradona's 61st birthday. And then the 10th and final episode is going to be released on November 26th, a day after the anniversary of his death. This show has generated a lot of enthusiasm in Argentina, but it has not come without controversy. Maradona's former wife, Claudia, did take legal action against Amazon to get some scenes removed. The show also comes amid an ongoing legal battle over the trademark of Maradona's name, and as 7 medical professionals are being tried for negligence in his death.
Maradona very much in the headlines still after his passing. Now, the next show you're going to tell us about also deals with some very real and very recent history. It's called Dope Sick, and it tackles the origins of the opioid epidemic in the United States.
Dope Sick premiered on Hulu in the US, and it comes out in Europe and elsewhere this week on Disney+. Now, it tells the story of the opioid epidemic from every angle. We have the Sackler family, the owners of Purdue Pharma, the maker of OxyContin. We also see the executives and sales rep who were tasked with pushing the drug. Then there are the people who are being impacted by it in an Appalachian mining town, including the local doctor there, played by Michael Keaton. And then finally, we see the public prosecutors and the government agents as they investigate Purdue Pharma. Let's take a look.
I think maybe the medicine might be just a tad more addictive than you said.
I can't live like this anymore.
Our community is ground zero for a national catastrophe.
Purdue will not move unless we punch hard.
This is not our fault. These people want to be addicted.
I want top executives to feel some pain.
It's crucial they understand we've created the greatest painkiller in the history of human civilization.
Now, this show is based on the book Dopesick by the journalist Beth Macy. She was also part of the writing process. And so the depictions of Purdue Pharma and its owners, the Sackler family, are based on verifiable evidence. The other characters in the show are fictional, but they are based on true stories from Beth Macy's reporting.
From what I've seen, they certainly do seem authentic. Now, the show's obviously incredibly sad, but given this level of social injustice, it made you angry too.
This show, Olivia, will fill you with rage because these events happened in our lifetime. It's a story that everyone's more or less familiar with, but the TV series format really ties events together into a narrative arc that is so much more powerful than the one that you get from that slow trickle of news headlines. Now, this show spans about a decade, from the mid-90s to the mid-2000s, and it jumps around in time a lot, which can be a bit confusing, but I found that it didn't ultimately bother me that much. The characters are so compelling. The performance of Caitlin Deaver as a young minor who becomes addicted is particularly moving. Altogether, it's really a damning portrait of the Sacklers, of Purdue Pharma, but also of the U.S. Food and Drug Administration. And that, Olivia, is exactly what its creators intended it to be. We can take a listen to Danny Strong and Beth Macy.
The show is very much the indictment and the trial of Purdue Pharma that never ultimately happened. And so what the show does is it lays out the case that the assistant U.S. attorneys built and the evidence that they compiled that shows the crimes of Purdue that they did plead guilty to. You know, people often don't remember that they pled guilty to criminal misbranding in a statement of facts. And those statement of facts that they pled guilty to are incredibly damning.
I think what I'm proudest of is that for decades in this country, we have been taught to, as Richard Sackler says, hammer the abusers, blame the people that his company addicted, rather than the company which told these lies in the name of making profits.
Now, it's worth noting that Netflix actually has its own series in the works about Purdue Pharma and the origins of the opioid crisis. That's going to be called Painkiller, and it is expected to come out next year.
Hard-hitting stuff there. Now, staying with the theme of American social ills, there's another show that's been getting a lot of praise. It's called Made, and it's on Netflix.
And it broke the record set by The Queen's Gambit as Netflix's most watched miniseries. It's loosely based on the memoir Made by Stephanie Land about her experience leaving an abusive relationship and taking a job as a cleaner to support her young daughter. The show is driven by the very powerful and subtle performance of Margaret Qualley as the main character, Alex. Qualley's mother is the actress Andie MacDowell, and she's also in the show, playing Alex's unreliable and eccentric mother. Let's take a look.
Oh. I don't think I can do this. So quit. I can't quit.
I live for my daughter.
They can kick dirt in your face.
Alex, I haven't had a drink today.
You don't leave a good man when he's trying.
And they hate the way you shine.
Before they bite, they bark.
I pay all the bills. Let you hang out with my friends. I do everything for you.
Before they hit you, they hit near you.
Trying to hide inside of it and hide how much it hurts.
It grows like mold.
Not a glamorous portrait of American life, and one of the things that people appreciate about this series is its portrayal of what it's like to be poor in the US.
Yeah, it really gets into all of the catch-22s of the American welfare system, like how in order to qualify for free childcare, you need a job, but then how do you get a job when you don't have childcare in the first place? Now, you might not think that that would make for very interesting television, but this show is so compelling because one event could so easily lead to Alex losing everything, including her daughter. The show also gives a really nuanced portrayal of emotional abuse and how complicated it is to both identify and to respond to it, particularly when it's coming from the father of your child. Now, one of the quirks of the series is that we do get some darkly humorous peeks into Alex's head. For example, numbers pop up on the screen as she's calculating her expenses. And then we also see on the forms that she's filling out, they say things like white trash because that's what she herself is imagining that they say. It is worth noting that Alex is an attractive young white woman, so you can only imagine as you're watching this show how much more complicated it is for for people who are in a less privileged position.
Some very thought-provoking material there. Now, all of the shows you've talked about so far have been based on true stories, real life, so we're going to end with something that allows us to escape a bit into the fantasy realm.
Yes, this is the Wheel of Time series. It's being billed as Amazon's answer to Game of Thrones. The budget certainly is comparable. It reportedly cost $10 million an episode. Amazon also built an entirely new studio in Prague just to shoot the series. Now, it's based on a best-selling series of fantasy novels by Robert Jordan. Rosamund Pike stars as Moraine, a member of a powerful female group that's fighting against the Dark One. She embarks on a journey with a group of 5 young men and women, one of whom is prophesized to either save or destroy all of humanity. Now, I'm not entirely convinced by the show yet. It does seem to be borrowing a bit too much from Game of Thrones and other fantasy series, but I suppose we'll have to see when it comes out on November 19th.
Destroy or save humanity, quite a tall order. Thank you very much for that roundup, Alison. We'll leave you with a glimpse at the epic trailer for Wheel of Time. Remember, you can get more arts and culture on our website. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. There's more news coming up on France 24 just after this.
The last battle is coming. The only thing that matters is what you do. Whatever happens now, there's no turning back.